Good morning, everyone. I hope you are all doing well. So this is the visualization that I have created. My group was given the video game sales data, which contains a bunch of video games and their respective publishers, developers, and sales data. So what I did when I was looking for insight is I took publishers and I tracked their total global sales across all of their video games. Um, and I noticed that when looking at Activision's trend, there seems to be an increase in global sales, quite a drastic increase, that starts in 1998 and ends roughly here in 2009. So what I did was I did some research and I found that this can be attributed to the release of the sixth generation of consoles. Now, when talking about generations of consoles, there are two ways that we can talk about it. You can talk from the release of one new console to the release of the next new console, or we can talk about the entire lifespan that that console is being manufactured. So we can see here in 1998 that the sixth generation of consoles begins manufacturing here and ends manufacturing here in 2013. So, with this insight, I decided to create a sales overview dashboard for Activision, detailing their performance for this generation. Using this graph as a base, we can then drill down into the data to gain further insight. Here we have a stacked bar chart comparing sales across time. It has been color-coded to show the proportion of sales each market accounts for. What we can see here is that North America accounts for the largest amount of all Activision sales, at 362 million units sold. So, next to that we have a units sold by genre. So what I've done here is I've compared the amount of sales to the genre, and what I've done is I've highlighted the genre that has the most sales in it. That would be the shooter genre, as you can see here, which accounts for 302.4 million sales. And then on the right here, I have grouped the data into three separate categories, those categories being the three big platforms during this generation, that being Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo platforms. As you can see the total sales here for all three, and I have this small line graph here, which includes the peak. I believe that this was 2009 for all three. Um, I didn't include any dates or any axes for these because I thought that might take away from the overall message that I'm trying to get across here, which is just an overall positive trend for all three platforms. When looking at the structure of the dashboard, um, I've got the heading here at the top, the data source, but then I've also included these small little text boxes where I've detailed some important facts about uh, the performance of Activision. So we have total sales, their best year, which was 2009, the amount of games published, and their average critic score. So the reason I've included these is to um, just to get some information across that might not be apparent, or if someone's just glancing over the dashboard, they'll at least have some takeaway. These are the key points, and this is a performance overview, so this does reflect the performance of Activision. When talking about the overall design of my dashboard, I do think that it follows all of Tufts' principles. It does tell a story, it's not too visually complex, um, and it does have integrity. I've included the data link, and all of my calculations are accurate to the data. I've used color as a tool to emphasize what data I want the user to see. I've used maroon here and here um, to highlight what I want, and I've used different shades of gray to let the data I don't want the user to focus on to fall to the back. If there's any improvements I could make, I think what I would do is work a bit more on my design. I think there's still a bit I could do with this data to make it a bit more visually appealing. And maybe I could have found a more interesting story, or split some data, or included some other data sets to mix things up a bit. But besides that, I'm happy with the visualization. So thank you all for listening, and enjoy the rest of the presentations.